soon as we get those read and kind of understand those, OVRDC will be contacting communities and try to get subrecipient agreements out to everyone, and we can start spending the TA money. Well, where we are right now is working with projects and planners and trying to get some clarity on some of these projects. There's a lot of speculation on development grant applications in the fall. Last week, John Hemmings had heard there'd be 4 or 5 projects funded in the fall or applications funded in the fall. Now GOA is saying up to 10. So when we say 10 applications, one application could end up having 15 or 20 projects within it. So they're saying up to 10. We don't exactly know what these applications are going to look like come November. We don't know who the lead applicants are going to be yet. That's going to be, I think, kind of an organic process as we work through this and putting our projects together. Right now, we have no control over what these applications are going to look like this fall. What we do have control over is getting projects designed, really fleshing out projects. So you can do the elevator pitch on your project. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what it's going to cost. So I'm really encouraging communities to work with your secure planners, really get your projects fleshed out, get all that preliminary design, preliminary engineering, preliminary cost estimating, feasibility, all those things hammered out. We have all summer to get those things figured out. And then how we take those projects and put them into applications this fall, that's yet to be seen. There's going to be large applications, maybe across development districts. One community might have 2 projects in 2 different applications this fall. We don't know. It doesn't look like say the city of Gallipolis probably won't submit a project, but they could have 2 projects, one be part of a river application, one part of another theme application with arts or theatrical groupings. So we just don't quite know yet. But if you have a procured planner, work with them, take full advantage of them, get as much design and engineering and costing out as you can done now. And like I say, what that happens in the fall, we will see. So that's pretty much in a nutshell the update with the TA and the development grants. Questions?
Question from me, Ken. I'll start it off. You mentioned resubmitting when we were chatting before the meeting started, and I wondered if you would talk a little more about that. What happens if you do go try to get a procured planner and they say, well, it's not quite in scope, or they kick it out?
Yes, there is an opportunity to reapply. Now, some projects are just flat out not eligible. You know, if you're wanting to build a new petting zoo out here, they are going to say no. They're not building, anything less new buildings unless it's schools or hospitals. But if it's a project you're doing in a building downtown, but you don't mention downtown revitalization in your narrative, you can change your narrative. You can make it, you can tweak your language and maybe get a state procured planner. So there is that process available. And the window is still open to request planners. They have not shut the window yet. I'm not sure. I haven't heard a date yet. So there is an opportunity. If you want to resubmit, you can. If you want to tweak your language, but there's a lot of other programs out there. I just heard OVRDC saying, there's kind of a dearth of applications for some of the program now. A lot of folks have focused on ACGP and forgotten about all this other alphabet soup pot of monies out there with other programs. So don't forget about those. You don't get a state procured planner, try to pitch your project for another pot of funding. And OVRDC can help with that.
So, Ken, this is Julie Bolander. So even let's take, for example, Southern States, the project that you know about theirs,
Yeah.
It fits the mold. It fits everything that ACGP is supposed to be. And yet they were denied. But when they received an email back, they were told, check this pot of funding. So is that for us to take away that no matter what they tweak or how they reapply, they're not going to get any ACG money? They're going to have to go through these other pots.
Probably, yes. And that was a workforce development project.
It was for,
Yeah.
IT, AI, electronics, robotics, virtual
And,
assisting.
and we were told at the training with the planners, and the planners can back me up on this, I think, that they were really going to be hesitant, they weren't going to be funding standalone workforce development projects. That workforce development projects had to be part of some other type of activity. And that was news to us at that point at the training for the planners. Because, the three buckets, the infrastructure, healthcare, and workforce, we always had those three buckets. But they told us at that training, that third bucket of workforce, they weren't going to do standalone workforce development projects.
So Ken and Julie, would that mean potentially taking your fleshed out workforce project and trying to find additional partners that made it more of a collaboration across? What do you think about that, Ken?
It might be. I seen, what got funded on the first round. Some of the downtown projects had like a workforce component because they're going to do a training in one of the buildings uptown in one of the cities and that type of thing. So I think that was the key, to try to tie the workforce component into some other type of project.
And I
But it was
don't think, I'm sorry, Ken, I don't think we have a problem doing that. I think we can make that work.
okay,
It just seems a little bit odd because everybody was to apply for the planner essentially on their own.
right.
Well, how are we gonna tie this into somebody else when we're applying on our own? So I'll sit down with them and we'll see what we can do. But, again, Highland District's mental health clinics and all 5 of our county schools got denied. And I mean, it's verbatim.
Right. And if I were king, I would have put a planner on that project because I thought it was a great idea. I think it meets a tremendous need with mental health and, and youth and all of that at a very cost effective amount also, and had the partners. But so, yeah, those things can be tweaked and resubmitted if you'd like.
We'll probably get to working on that.
Okay.
Questions? Other questions? I have a question, Ken. Another one.
Okay.
So have we talked about the possibility of grouping after everyone's developing their project individually, thematically or geographically? And to Julie's point, should they be who should they be talking to as far as partnering to try to put more than one person into projects?
Well, right now, we don't know what it's going to look like across district lines. We'd heard there could be an application that could span 3 of the development districts, could involve, 15 or 20 counties. We don't quite know yet, but it looks like they're going to be grouped, by themes primarily, and some might be geographic, like the river communities. There might end up being a string of river communities be part of one application that could go all the way from New Richmond, clear up past, Marietta and on up the river. That's yet to be seen. We don't quite know, Gina, how this is all going to develop. What we do know is, and what we can do right now is focus on our projects and getting our projects really nailed down. Here's what we want to do. Here's what it's going to cost. Because there'll be some time later for consistency. We had a meeting with the High River Way. They have some standards. So if you're doing a bunch of dock projects along the river, there might be some consistent designs put into that. So everybody has the same type of bike racks and type of docks, those type of things. There'll be time to do all of that later. Right now, I really want communities to work with their planners and kind of flesh out what they want and how we coordinate all that. WRDC is going to be convening a meeting, we'd like to do early this summer with the planners at OVRDC and really start talking, about projects and how they might fit together into themes. So right now we don't know what that's going to look like. So we're just going to focus on fleshing out projects.
We had chatted, just as an aside, earlier, we have transportation money to go out with safety plans, and, we can't find a planner. So
Yeah.
just a point, it's just everyone's being sucked up by this program, which is a good thing, but
Right. Yeah, and the planners are busy, and I'm telling communities, take advantage of the planners. Just get as much professional services out of these firms as you can. I know some of them are kind of up budget wise, but there's some more money available under the ACGP, under House Bill 377. There's still another $15 million available for planning. So, and even with the technical assistance grant, every county has 250,000. But we were told if a community spends that, there's a process to request more technical assistance money through an email request if you blow through your 250. So, yeah, I'm encouraging people to start spending that technical assistance money and use your planners and get projects fleshed out, developed, and then we'll work later plugging those into competitive grant applications this fall.
Questions, anybody?
I think you may have covered this, but I cut out for a second. Was there any further detail on the deadline date for round 2 of development? I know you sent out the email blast that said it would be December. Has there been any additional information on what time in December?
No, that hasn't been established yet, as far as I know.
I did hear like later December, possibly early January. Is that what you
Right.
heard, Ken?
That the portal would probably open up in November, and you'd have through December into January.
Mhm.
But they're still assigning planners, so who knows? That could get bumped back.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Hi, Ken, Gina, this is Della Rucker. Sorry to, I missed a bit of the initial conversation, so forgive me if this is duplicate. So what I think I'm hearing from Ken, just to feed it back, is for the time being, the focus of the consulting planners should be on really understanding the projects, understanding what the priorities, the objectives, the technical details, all of that stuff. Really getting the community's individual planet projects solid, and then step 2 or whatever will be the putting the picture together. At this
Right.
point, are you okay? So that's a correct understanding. At this point, are you still anticipating that the quote unquote mega projects proposals will come from the LDD or from the individual planners or consortiums of planners and projects? Obviously, each LDD to date has been talking about doing it a little differently. I just want to get clear on what OVRDC's thinking is at this moment. Words.
Okay, well, OVRDC will do whatever it takes to get as many projects in the OVRDC region into a development grant application this winter. That's our goal. If that means
Okay.
OVRDC being a lead entity or applicant, yes. John Hemmings ran that by the executive committee of OVRDC yesterday, just to feel them out.
Oh.
OVRDC is kind of like I think the course of last resort. OVRDC doesn't want to do an application that might compete with other communities' applications. OVRDC doesn't want to be in a position where they pick winners and losers, who gets part of a development application. So there's a lot of issues to work through. And Della, we just don't quite know what that's going to look like. But right now, you talked about, communities and priorities. For example, like Benton County, you guys are working with healthcare. They need to come up with a project, not a study, not a strategy, not a plan, but a project. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what's going to cost. And I have some suggestions, and I'll be on that call Monday, and we'll talk more about that. But it's fleshing out projects. These projects, how they get fit into development applications later, is anybody's guess right now. One hallmark of this program has been kind of a lack of clarity and morphing. This grant program keeps changing. So it's hard for me to look in the crystal ball to anticipate what a grant application is going to look like, when the portal opens in November.
Give you a crystal ball?
No,
Sorry.
it's cloudy. You need to clear it up a little bit. So yeah, my crystal ball has cataracts, I think, because I can't see very clearly in it. So, but what we have right now, though, we can develop projects. the communities, work with the planners, and let's get some good projects designed, costed out. Because some of these buildings, I mean, you can do, you want to do some downtown revive, well, do some structural engineering tests on some of those buildings. That might not be worth fixing up. We can do that now. We have that time to kind of, and then by the end of summer, community knows, here's what we want to do, this building, this building, this building, and have a very clear idea and have a cost. How then we can plug that into some applications somewhere, somehow.
And to your
Great,
point,
thanks.
Ken, those programs are, those plans are in set, and then whether or not they go to the Appalachian Community Grant Program or the Appalachian Regional Commission Power Program or Economic Development, once that, use the planners to help you get those plans in a position to go for whatever funding you can go for.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeannie. Yeah, because you'll have a lot of those upfront costs covered. You want to pitch your project for other pots of funding.
Carrie's got some stuff over
Right.
in the chat for you to download. Some guidance. We got a 4-page guidance from the Governor's Office of Appalachia that I shared out. Any other questions? Anybody have any ideas or questions you want to throw out with the group?
Sorry, would you, for those of us that got on Scotia late, would you upload that link again, please? If you came in later, you don't have the stuff.
You might be able, can you scroll through the chat? I think you can
The chat
scroll.
doesn't give you anything before you were able to get on.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, we will add that in. Carrie, if you'll add that up again. And then Della, if you came late, and anyone else,
Yes,
please send me your email. I'll put my email here and I'll get you on a list. So I will send out all these resources after the meeting, and then we're also going to be recording the meetings and sharing that on YouTube too. So you can share that out with everybody.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Gina,
If
do you,
Yeah, Tracy.
do you and Ken have like a list of the communities that have been or like everyone that's gotten a procured planner that you could send out?
Yes and no. I have a list of procured planners, but we were advised not to share that with everyone. So
At this time, probably.
at this time, but yeah, if you give me a call, shoot me an email, I can talk to you about your communities and which projects, and which planners have been assigned, because there's been a lot of communication. Like Della, I don't know if you're aware that on your Benton County healthcare project, Nationwide Children's Hospital has also been assigned as a planner for that project with 143. So there's going to be some coordination there.
To make that clear, Dow, that's not us. That's just, we're
Right.
the messenger.
I know.
Right.
We've got a couple that we have been sort of double assigned to, or us and somebody else. And we're actually like happy about that, because the ability to, I mean, from my perspective, the collaboration is one of the really cool things about this whole initiative.
And the Benton County Healthcare might end up with a third. American Structure Points working with the University of Rio Grande. They're talking about a MacArthur branch campus that would do healthcare, which would take care of the school-based and the community healthcare needs. So you could end up with a project like that with 3 cooks in the kitchen. You could end up with 3 planners, on one project. And again, that's what we're doing right now, is trying to work on projects, get these things, fleshed out with as many planners as it takes. And it'll be the same way when we do the development grant applications in the fall. There'll be several planning firms working on, several different applications. So it'll be an interesting process.
Yep. And Brewster, you have your hand up. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Just so you know, I'm Brewster Rhodes. I'm the chair of the Ohio River Way organization, and we've been meeting with folks from Claremont, Brown, Adams, and Scioto counties to think through what it would look like to put together a collaborative proposal to upgrade riverfronts with transient docks, with canoe and kayak access points, with perhaps a public restroom facility available for cyclists and paddlers and power boaters and the public hikers. and then interpretive signage. And so Ken suggested the other day that we might want to try to convene a subgroup of this group of folks who are working with river communities to think through what are the kinds of things that could be affordably developed and included in your local plans that would provide a sense of consistency in terms of the quality of the amenities for recreation in every one of those river towns all the way up the river, not just within the 4 counties I described. So anyway, I can put my name in the chat. Ken, well, I don't know how you want to handle it, but we can work this out later. But I just wanted to let people know that we are a resource. We're not going to be an applicant, but we're a resource to the communities that are interested in doing riverfront development. We've been working closely with Tracy, with New Richmond, with other communities, Ripley. But we're happy to be a resource for those of you thinking through that. And you talk about the ultimate collaborative project. Imagine if every community along the Ohio for 200 some miles had a plan included in their plans, upgrades to their own riverfront that would make them more accessible to recreational people interested in recreation in their own communities, but also visitors. So thank you.
Okay. Yes, and those partnerships are going to be imperative to have competitive grant applications in the fall. The more partnerships, the more competitive the application will be, and especially public-private partnerships. Those really get the point. So, other questions?
Thoughts, ideas, questions? If this potentially a short meeting today, but we're here if anybody wants to bounce ideas off of each other. And thanks, Brewster. That was great information to share. If anyone else wants to share about their project and that they're looking for partners, this would be a great place to do it.
And I would just encourage, communities, if you're with your project and your planners, please kind of let me know what's going on, because if I know what's going on in other communities, like we talked about with this planners on one healthcare project in Benton County, I can kind of be that facilitator if I know what communities are doing with what planners and what your projects are. So let me know. Need to come out and visit when the planners come out and do site visits. More than available to work. Again, our goal is to get as many projects and development grant applications this fall as we can for the OVRDC region.
Hey, Ken, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that my email is in the chat. Did it show up in the chat? I wasn't quite sure if it was a direct response to Dell. Okay, fine.
I
Thank
see
you.
it.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
I did it twice. I apologize. Thank you.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So housekeeping, John wants everybody to start thinking about who will be your county lead. Also, he was thinking, as far as OVRDC goes, there would be sub-grant agreements. So start thinking about who you would want that
For the
to.
technical assistance grants.
Yes,
Yeah,
technical
the
assistance.
technical
Thank you,
assistance
Ken.
grants. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Because we don't have that yet as far as our documentation. We're not quite ready with that, but that's coming soon. So we'll start working on that. And he said also remember about requesting your procured planner. That application period will end at some point. So definitely keep that in mind and prioritize that work. If you're reworking, get that back into them. Keep trying to get your planner. And again, please shoot me an email if you would with anyone that needs to be on the information distribution list. I'm putting my email in the chat. I don't want to miss anybody, and the meeting will happen every 2 weeks. And Brewster, Dow's got a message for you. Dow's up in Gallia County.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The home of the fantastic Christmas display that was on NBC.
Yes.
That was
The
fantastic.
city of the Gauls. The city of the Gauls.
We got a great region. Fantastic. Let's show the world. And I really am excited about ACGP because of the collaboration model, and we're making new friends. We're getting to know everyone's projects, working as a region. I think that's a really big plus for the program. Still, there's a little bumps in the road. We're ironing out. And
Oh, yeah.
Brewster, you had something else to say. Yes.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. So Ken, anything else? A last chance on questions? or anybody?
I don't have anything to add. Like I say, hopefully we'll get those technical assistance grants out and just keep working on projects. Let's get these projects developed.
Guys, last chance. Anything anybody wants to say or add or ask? Okay, well, I guess that's going to be it. And we'll look for an email later today and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
Bye now.
Have
Thanks,
a good
all.
Friday.
Happy Friday, Gina.
Happy Friday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.